him to the cross and who are now stealing his only piece of clothing. And he looks at them and he doesn't say, "Are you going to say sorry?" He doesn't say, "Well, it's too far gone now." What does he say? Luke 23:34. Jesus said, this is incredible, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing." You know, we believe at Lifepoint that, and I'm talking to the wrong people now because you guys haven't got primary school age kids probably, but we really believe that the most important people in a kid's life is actually their parents, especially in that age group, and that it's actually, they are the primary disciplers. So we actually believe, as good as our kids crew and our kids programs and our youth programs are, and they're really good, we actually believe they're just part of partnering with our parents to teach our kids the way of the gospel, the way of Jesus Christ. So that's so good. This is the second most important sermon at Lifepoint today, okay? The one happening in here today. But welcome if you are new, and welcome if you are just visiting today, or you're trying to work out maybe the whole faith thing, maybe the whole church thing. I was emailing someone this week, and they were emailing, and they said to me, "Hey, I don't really believe the whole religion thing. I'm not really a Christian. I'm not a church person. But I've been coming along to your church for the last few weeks, and you've really got me thinking." So my hope and prayer is that even if you don't fully believe everything the Bible says, we're going to be looking at the Bible today. We're going to be looking at a verse in Matthew 7. But even if you don't fully believe everything that the Bible says, my hope and prayer today is that you might actually go, there's something about this that gets you thinking. And you might maybe start the journey today towards Jesus Christ. So we are in a series right now. It's called Reassembly Required. It's doing one of the hardest things you're ever going to have to do in your life. It's repairing a relationship. Now, it's a beginner's guide. All right, I'm not an expert on this. I'm just hopefully getting some good things out of the Bible. It's a beginner's guide to broken relationships and trying to repair them. Because humans are pretty good at starting relationships. We're pretty good at maintaining relationships most of the time. We're absolutely terrible at repairing relationships, aren't we? It's not intuitive. We don't know how to do it. We're not sure where to start. So you know what humans usually do? For all the humans in the room, usually you just go, stuff it. I don't know what to do. They're dead to me, or it's awkward. I am not sure. I'm just going to avoid their eyes when I see them at a party. I hope I'm never going to run into them again in my life. And we're just going to keep things like that. We don't want to stop there. We believe the gospel is a gospel of bringing people together, of reconciliation of one another. And we believe that that's what Jesus did for us, is that he came to us. So we're talking today about what I have called the sorry stalemate. I've been getting back to my roots a little bit recently. I have been playing chess. I'll have you guys know that I was actually the chess champion of my primary school. Thank you. I didn't hear a round of applause, but that's all right. Oh, there it is. And I know what you're thinking. Dan, we knew you were cool. We didn't know you were that cool, that you were a chess champion. And I've been getting back into it because my son Zeke loves chess, so we've been playing a bit of chess recently. And I've been actually getting my phone out and getting this chess.com app out. It's been really fun. And the other day, and man, you didn't know you were going to get an exciting chess story this morning, but the other day I was playing chess against someone overseas, I think they're from Brazil, on my phone. It's one of these like 5-minute games. You've got to be really quick. And I've got him on the ropes. I've got 6 pieces left. He's only got 2 left. And I'm like, my rating is going to go up. I'm smashing it. Chess champion Dan's going to beat. And suddenly, all of a sudden, he moves his king into a strange place, and boom, stalemate. If you don't know what stalemate is, it's when there's no other legal move to make. Literally, there's nothing you can do. There's like, his piece had moved. This is really boring, some people, isn't it? Okay, don't worry about it. Basically, the game's over and nobody wins. I can't go, they can't go, the game's over. It's like, it's such a terrible way to finish a game. You know, I'd rather lose than get stalemate. Because stalemate's like, it's just boring. It's like nothing's happened. And this is what can happen in relationships. I've been here before. In fact, I was here this week. My wife's out with my children, so I can share this story now. I got home, and I was home a bit late from work. And my wife, I said I was going to be home at 5, and I got home at 6:30, just a little bit late. And Steph was annoyed with me. And then I looked around, and I saw that she hadn't put the washing away. So I was annoyed at her. And I said, I thought you were going to put that washing away. You've had all day to do it. And she's thinking, you're home late from work. What are you doing to me? And obviously, it was a sorry stalemate. I'm like, you should say sorry to me for not putting that laundry away. She's like, you should say sorry for me for coming home late. And I know that's actually a bad example because I'm clearly right in that situation. So that's a bad one. But sometimes you're not sure who's going to say sorry first. And it could be a marriage. It could be a friendship. It could be a colleague at work. It could be a family member. And you could be stuck. Just a quick poll, okay, and I want you to be honest. Who here finds it easy to say sorry first? You're like a sorry first kind of person. Come on, if you're the sorry firster, put your hand up. Yep. Okay, that's good. I appreciate that. Who here is a sorry after you've said sorry person? Anyone want to admit that? A few people. Hey, I appreciate the honesty. That's good. That is good. I appreciate that. We can all get into a sorry stalemate. And what usually happens is, and I've seen not just people do it, I've seen entire organizations do this. I've actually seen entire nations do this, is that they get into sorry stalemate and they try and do what we've been calling this series the C4 method of relationship management. And the C4 method looks like this. Convince. So I haven't said sorry yet. I'm going to try and convince you why you're wrong first, and you need to say sorry first. Try and convict. Do you understand what you've done, how bad it is? How you're just horrible. Try and coerce them. Try and manipulate them. Well, I'm just going to be quiet then and see what you say. Or try and control them and try and make them say sorry. You better say sorry right now, or I'm leaving. So this is the usual relationship management that we employ. And depending on how close we are to the person, we'll use different ones. If we're not very close to them, we might find ourselves just withdrawing altogether and using that as a way to coerce people and control people. Now, C4, we know that's an explosive material, and we know this is explosive stuff that actually detonates relationships. It doesn't work. So, we've been looking at the Bible this series, and we've been looking at a new approach. Here's where we're at so far. If you're here for the very first time, you're not going to miss anything. The first thing you need to do is to decide that you're not going to make reconciliation the goal. It sounds counterintuitive, but you can't, because you can't control people. Yeah? You actually can't reconcile with someone that doesn't want to reconcile with you. So you can't control people. So reconciliation's not the goal. You haven't got all the pieces to control that. Okay, so that's step one. Decide the goal is no regrets instead. I want to live my life in a way that I've got no regrets in my relationships. Number two. So the first one is make your goal no regrets. So if that person died tomorrow, and it sounds horrific, but if the person died tomorrow, I'm going to live my life knowing I did everything I could. That's how we want to live our life. No regrets. Number two, we did this last week, it's up to you to make the first move. All right? But what does the first move look like? Because often we think, right, I'm going to make the first move. You've really hurt me and you've done the wrong thing. Is that the first move? What does the first move in trying to repair a relationship actually look like? Well, I believe Jesus is the expert. He's the expert relationship counselor. He created every molecule in your body. He put us together. He dreamed you up before the beginning of creation. He knows exactly how you work and how others work. And so we're going to look at the greatest teaching in history today. It's the foundation, I believe, of all modern ethics. It's the greatest sermon ever preached, the Sermon on the Mount. And we're going to look today at Matthew 7, verse 3, which I think is one of the most famous things Jesus ever said and one of the least followed things that Jesus ever said. I think it's very ironic that one of the most famous things he ever said is a thing that most people never do. And here's how it goes. You might know this, you might not. Matthew 7, verse 3. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye. I want to think just for you to think in a moment. We often look at teachings like in the Bible and we're like, oh, that's a very good teaching. But just think about your life for a second. Think about someone in your life, maybe right now, who you've got a bit of relational friction with, you've got some conflict with. And if you're at peace with everyone right now, congratulations, good work. Think about someone in the past maybe, because this will happen to you again, I can promise you. Think about someone in the past that's hurt you. Let's be real for a second. That's a pretty offensive thing to say to someone who's been hurt. Who's been really hurt. Who's had something really hard done to them. Imagine saying to someone someone comes to you, oh, I'm so upset, I'm really hurt. And they go, why? You've got a plank in your own eye. Isn't that offensive? Like a lot of the things Jesus said, if we're real, were actually really offensive. Like I'm thinking about someone I've got in my life right now who, it's not, things are okay, but I can tell there's just a little bit of like tension. And this whole series, I've been convicted about this relationship. And I'm thinking, let me tell you, Jesus, it ain't no speck, all right? They've done the wrong thing repeatedly. Like they've made a habit. They've decided they're going to do the wrong thing by me time and time again. And I've tried before. I've tried again to make things better. I've done the whole thing. And they're just not doing anything. It's not a speck. I can see it from here. It's a giant plank. It's a whole blooming house in their eye. It's not a speck, Jesus. What are you talking about? This is so offensive. And a plank in my own eye, excuse me? I'm self-aware. I'm not perfect. This is how we all think, isn't it? I'm not perfect. We all say that first, and then we say, but I'm better than them. Like, I'm not perfect, but look at them. They're hopeless. They're awful. They're an idiot. They're dangerous. This is a really offensive teaching, and I want to slow down on it because I want us to just realize just what Jesus is actually saying. And you think Jesus often says something harsh, and then he sends something, it's like the truth and then love, you know what I mean? Like there's a truth spoken in love, and you think, okay, there's something loving coming next, Jesus. What are you going to say? Verse 4, how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there is a plank in your own eye? Jesus doubles down. When you're reading the Bible, and I recommend it, and you see things repeated, always slow down, because the Bible writers are repeating things for a reason. Why is the exact same words being used over and over again? Jesus is saying, and he was saying this to me this week as I read this passage, why is it, Dan, that you always know how everyone else should be acting? I'm such an expert on how people should act, especially acting towards me. Like, I'm an absolute expert. I could tell you exactly how each of you should act towards me. And after this, you should come up to me and say, Dan, that was an incredible sermon. My life's been changed. You're an amazing pastor. You've never done anything wrong. And here's some money for the building fund. I'm an expert. I know you're all going to do that. I know you will. Why is it that we always know how everyone else should act towards us? Why are you looking around thinking that you can decide, all right, yeah, plank, 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 sort all of you guys out. And Jesus goes, you know what? You might not be in a position to help. Have you ever thought for a moment that you're not in a position to know how other people should act? It's a revolutionary thought for many of us. You actually might not even have any idea how people should be acting towards you. And then he doubles down once more. Verse 5, you hypocrite. You didn't think you were going to come to church and get called a hypocrite. Hey, welcome to Lifepoint, hypocrite. You hypocrite, he says. And hypocrite, that Greek word, it means like an actor. It's like you're an actor. You're literally just pretending. First, take the plank out of your own eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. This is powerful stuff, guys. It's actually beautiful stuff. It might sound harsh, but it's beautiful, freedom-working, loving teaching. So here's the simple and powerful process that Jesus implements when you're making the first move towards someone to restore a relationship. Take the plank out first. It's as simple as that. But then it doesn't. I love how this goes on. Doesn't stop there. We don't just take the plank out and go, well, I've done my bit, now I'll wait for you to do your bit. No, then actually he keeps going and he says, once you've got the plank out of your own eye, then you might actually be able to see clearly. And actually then you should move towards them and try and take the speck from your brother's eye. Once you've decided that you're the one with the plank and they're the one with the speck, you're in a position to come towards them and say, I feel hurt. I feel like this has to be restored. I feel like these behaviors I'm not happy with. I don't want a relationship where you do this again to me. You can say all those things that are about your hurt. You can go through the whole thing, and you should. But there's a step you have to do first. You can move towards the person in grace. And I have brought a cake to demonstrate today. Because today we're going to call it the blame cake, all right? I've baked this myself, as you can see. Get rid of that. The blame cake, okay? So this is the blame cake. It's a sponge cake. It's really amazing. I'm for the last 3 weeks, or the last 2 weeks, I've been on a sugar fast, but sugar doesn't count in church. So I'm allowed to eat this, and it's not going to go to calories because of the Holy Spirit, I believe. Okay, so here's what I'm saying. When it comes to the blame cake, this is a blame cake, okay? Everything that someone's done wrong in a relationship, this is a blame cake between, so me and Colin. Colin hurt me this week in the office. No, he didn't. Love you, Colin. But just so me and Colin have a problem, all right? Colin's down here. And I've done something wrong and he's done something wrong. And together, we call it the blame cake. So some parts are his and some parts are mine, all right? A lot of it's his, to be honest. This is the blame cake. Oh, yum. Here's what Jesus says. When it comes time to restoring relationships, the first thing you need to do is serve yourself the first piece. Does that make sense? Take the first slice yourself. I'm stabbing you all today. Even if you think they've done most of it, and they might have. Let's be honest, some people are just really hard to deal with, and they're awful, and they're abusive, and they're aggressive. And you might think, yeah, but it's all them. But the first thing we do, even if it is almost all them, all right? By the way, they probably think it's all you, just so you know. But even if you do think it's mostly them, the first thing you do, and this is going to absolutely revolutionize the relationship, is you take the first piece, okay? Don't take more than you think you should. Don't pretend to go, it was all my fault, if in the back of your mind going, no, it wasn't, you're a loser. Don't do that. Take the piece, though, that's yours first. So you might be like, you know what? I'm taking a big piece that's mine because I did a lot. I'm taking half of it. Okay? This is my piece, and this is mine. Eat it first, okay? I'm not going to scuff my face in front of you all. I'm going to take the first slice myself. Or you might say, you know what? This has been going on forever, and they've repeatedly done this. So I'm only going to be honest, this is like, I'm taking this much. And it actually doesn't matter how big the piece is, as long as you take your slice first, okay? Because then they see something. Then they see that you're moving towards them without going, plank, plank, plank. Sorry. I'm enjoying this. You're not going to move towards them going, plank, 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 speck, speck, speck. Does that make sense? You're going to move them kind of going, plank, speck. That's the first move. It's really hard to do. It looks awfully nice, and I'm talking about cake, okay? I purposely chose cake because I want you to feel like it's a nice thing to do. It's a fun thing. You're going to enjoy this. You're probably not going to enjoy it, though, all right? It's actually going to be difficult. Why did I get something with so much icing on it? You're probably not going to enjoy it. You're not going to have fun doing this, but it's going to change the relationship. When you're moving first, take the first slice. As the scholar Ice Cube once said, check yourself before you wreck yourself. It's one for the hip-hop fans out there. I used to work with a lady years ago, many years ago, and she had a problem with me, a big problem. I don't know what happened. I think there was a promotion, and I got the promotion, and she didn't. And I was like 20 years younger than her, and she really took offense to that. I think that's what it was. I'm not sure. We can't guess people's motivations. That's dangerous. But she just didn't like me, and she went out of her way to not like me and to show that she didn't like me. She'd kind of look away from me. She'd gossip about me behind my back. When there was projects at work we had to get done, she would purposely make sure she was either off my team or on my team and tried to make it really difficult for me. And it was awful. Like I tried to be like, oh yeah, I'm a bloke. This isn't affecting me at all. She can think what she wants. I don't really care. But to be honest with you guys, I was really sad. And it made me feel really hurt. And I felt really like I got a bit sick in the stomach sometimes when I thought about it. And my way of dealing with it was I just completely ignored her and tried to just block her out of my life. And I've been looking at this passage and God's just been saying to me this week, I wish I'd done it differently. We want to have a no regrets life. I do have regrets. I wish I'd handled that differently. Because actually now I think about it, so in my perspective, she was being just utterly awful. She once like swore at me in front of everyone at lunch. It was just so awful. I could give you 20 things that she'd done wrong that all of you guys would go, oh. But see, what am I doing? I'm going, plank girl, look at her, plank. And I thought to myself, I feel like this whole thing's 99% her fault. But actually, when I think about it, and I reflected and I prayed, I'm like, I used to talk about her all the time behind her back. I'm doing it right now, to be honest. I used to whinge and I used to complain and I used to then make sure I made projects and I used to exclude her. And I'm like, to be honest, I don't think it was mostly me, but I could definitely take a piece of the cake. And I kind of wish I'd done that back then. I wish I'd moved towards her, not in aggression or withdrawn in aggression. I'd moved towards her in grace and taken my piece first. Because who goes first? This is a really important thing to get our head around, okay? For all of you people that find it hard to go first, okay? The person with the biggest slice feels like they should go first, don't you reckon? So, well, you've got a bigger slice, so you come towards me. Like, look how big your slice is. Like, come on, head towards me. I've only got this little tiny bit. I've got a crumb. But that's not how it works. The person with the biggest piece doesn't go first. The bigger person goes first. Okay? So when you're saying their slice is too big, their piece is too big, they've got too much, what you're really saying is you're not the bigger person. You're the smaller person. Now, I put one provisor on the blame cake idea is we have to be careful when it comes to taking too much responsibility. Some of you guys don't need this sermon. You need a sermon that says don't always take responsibility for everything, okay? And sometimes the blame cake doesn't come into it at all. Like when there's a power dynamic and you've got an adult and a child relationship, like a child doesn't, like when there's abuse or anything horrific going on like that, the child doesn't have to take a piece of their cake, okay? I'm not talking about that kind of thing. But I am talking about 99.9999% of your relationships. The bigger person goes first. And if you're a Christian here today, if you're a follower of Jesus, let me tell you this. You go first. You go first. There's something so powerful about owning your slice, your plank. I can tell you guys, it's a secret weapon. I had this happen last year. I had someone in my life I was annoyed at, and they'd done the wrong thing, and they'd hurt me, and I was waiting for them to come to me. And I even saw them at places, and I was doing the eyes, like you're going to look at me, because I'm waiting for you to come to me. And I just didn't. In the end, I just walked up to them and said, "Hey, things aren't cool with us, are they?" And they were like, "Not really." And I'm like, "Can we chat about it?" And by the grace of God, somehow I got this right and I owned my piece first. And after I owned my piece, it was like a glacier melted. You could see it in their eyes. Something melted and they were like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for my piece." And it was and we're actually closer now. I'm closer with that person. That doesn't always happen, just so you know. Don't take the blame cake as a way to manipulate. They're like, "All right, I've owned my crumb. Now you better own yours. Hurry up." We don't do it like that. We don't own our piece so that we can shove the cake in their face. We do it, and then we wait. take the plank out of your own eye, then you can find the speck in your brother's eye. It's not about placing blame. It's about assigning responsibility. And all you can do is take full responsibility for your full piece of the cake. So take a big bite and watch your relationships thrive. Now, maybe today you're hearing this message and you're like, well, Dan, I haven't got any conflict in my life. To be honest, I'm good at relationships. I'm not fighting with anyone. This is really irrelevant for me. That's good. Well done. And I can assure you it will be relevant one day, okay? I can assure you this will happen. It'll be with a family member or your husband or wife or a child or your mum or dad or your brother or sister or a friend or a colleague. It will happen. It'll be something small or something big. Or maybe today you're thinking, Dan, that sounds good, but it doesn't apply to my situation. It doesn't apply to the person I'm going to fight with because this is different. I'm stuck. And as I was praying about this message and preparing it this week, I just kept hearing, and I think it was from God saying, there's a lot of people that are stuck and you're not sure of the path forward. Maybe you're stuck and you're thinking, I don't think this person will ever change. And they've proven that before. So there's actually no point trying to restore a relationship. There's no point trying to have no regrets because it's stuck. Or maybe you think, if you're honest, you're like, I'm too bitter. Like, I'm too angry. Or like, I know if I went to them, I'm going to shove cake in their face. Like, I'm not going to be able to own my slice. Like, I can assure you, Dan, I am stuck. And that's, you know what, the thing about being stuck is, it's okay. Because that's exactly why Jesus came. He came to people who were stuck. He said, I didn't come for the healthy, I've come for the sick. I didn't come for those who can unstick themselves or think they can. I've come for those who are stuck. Maybe you're stuck in a season of life. Maybe you're stuck right now in even your relationship with God. And you feel like you're just stuck in things, you just feel distant from God and you're not sure why. That's exactly why Jesus came. I love, and I want to finish here this morning, I love that the gospel of Jesus Christ does not start with a do. I love that it starts with a done. Isn't that true? The gospel doesn't start by him coming down and saying, you've got to do something. The gospel is Jesus has done something. He's taken your blame pie, your blame cake for your entire life. And he didn't own any of it because it wasn't his. He didn't have to have any of it. And he took the whole thing for you. And he looked at the plank in your eye, and it's a big plank. And he took the plank, and he put it on his back, and he walked up a hill, and they nailed him to it. And one of the greatest lines of the entire Bible for me, forgive them, for they do not know what they're doing. What if you are the person that God wants to use to see someone's life become unstuck? That's never going to happen unless you've experienced it yourself. We can only give out what we've received. Amen. So let's take a moment. Why don't you just bow your heads right now? Let's just thank Jesus that he made the first move towards us. Let's just thank our God that we get to play a role in the greatest story on earth, the story of the overwhelming, never-ending love of God. Let's just have a moment right now. I'm just going to just leave it quiet just for a minute. And I just want you to, no matter where you are with God, I just want you to pray to him. And I want you to ask him to show you what he is really like this morning. You might have been walking with God for 40 years. Or you might be one of these people, and I know there's lots in our church who are currently on the journey of trying to figure out this whole Jesus faith thing. No matter where you are on the journey, I just want you to take a moment and just ask God, God, would you reveal and show to me what you are really like? Because we forget so easily. Just take a moment right now to do that. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did and you want more Lifepoint content, subscribe to our channel right now. Or if you're in the area around Moreton Bay or Rothwell, head to our service. Sunday, we'd love to see you there. lifepoint.org.au for all the details. We'll see you soon.